Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 18 meeting of the Ann Arbor City Council. If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Dish?
Here.
Councilmember Harrison?
Here.
Councilmember Watson?
Here.
Councilmember Malik?
Here.
Councilmember Redina?
Here.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Here.
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Councilmember Iyer?
Here.
Councilmember Ackman?
Here.
Councilmember Briggs?
Here.
Councilmember Cornell? Absent.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Iyer, second by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion of the agenda. All in favor? All opposed? The agenda is approved. Are there communications today from our city administrator?
No, Mayor.
We do have an introduction today, our update from the Downtown Development Authority. Director Thompson, you have the con.
Thank you. I wanted to begin tonight by thanking you for approving the DDA's amended development plan. I also want to publicly express my appreciation to the mayor and to every council member for the time and care you devoted over the past 2 years to fully understanding this plan. This was clearly not a decision that anyone took lightly, and as an Ann Arbor resident, I'm grateful for your diligence, thoughtfulness, and commitment to our community. On a personal note, one of the silver linings of this process was the opportunity to get to know many of you better. I truly appreciate those relationships and the conversations that were had along the way. So you approved this plan on April 20th. It went into effect on April 30th, and we have began the work to implement immediately. So tonight I wanted to provide you with an update on several of those projects. So first, the retractable bollard project. DDA staff are working to advance this effort as quickly as possible. This past week, DDA staff and a team of city staff toured Northville's retractable bollard installation, and this just confirmed our confidence in the product that we have chosen. At its May meeting, the DDA board approved funding for the final engineering in the initial bollard purchase. This season, we plan to install bollards within the active construction footprints downtown, so 4th Ave, Ann Street, and North University. Next spring, we will complete bollard installations in the Main Street summer seasonal closure footprint, as well as the Sonic lunch closures. The Division Street Bikeway Extension Project. So this is extending the two-way protected bikeway on Division from Catherine Street to the Broadway Bridge. DDA staff have met with Engineering and Transportation to finalize including the bikeway extension in the city's Division Street resurfacing project, which is scheduled for 2027. So the DDA board in June will be considering a contract for the design and engagement for this project. Engagement will get underway at some point this summer, and due to some of the changes that may be required to extend the bikeway, we anticipate that we will need council approval for this project, so we will be back to you at some point in time. 721 North Main Street, DDA and systems planning staff met to kick off a partnership effort on the site. We are waiting on preliminary information from SEMCOG to better understand the needs and what's possible on this site. Once this information is received, we will work together to design an initial phase of a DDA-funded improvements. And then onto the farmers market. DDA staff participated in the RFP process for the farmers market visioning and engagement effort. Park staff anticipate having a contract in place for these services by July, and the visioning and engagement will last about a year. So DDA will support park staff as the project kicks off with the long-term intent of helping to fund the needs and the vision that is identified. Downtown Service Team. We did receive direction from Council on May 4th. The desired approach is to establish a pilot program with Public Works. The first step in this process is developing job descriptions. DDA staff and Public Works staff have already started this effort. We have the first draft of the service team position job description crafted, and we are working on the job description for the supervisor position. And then finally, the North Main Street corridor study. So this study was already underway prior to plan approval, but the DDA's boundary expansion also expands the DDA's participation in this project. So the study is looking at the North Main corridor from Huron Street to M14. With the DDA's expansion, our participation in this project now extends to just beyond Depot Street to the railroad overpass. So tomorrow, we actually kick off a series of public engagement events to share the initial design concepts for this corridor. You may recall we had public engagement in March where we had our discovery phase for this project. So tomorrow there will be an open studio drop-in session from 1 to 3:30. There will be a second open studio on Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. And we will wrap up on Thursday, May 21st with an open house from 5:30 to 7. At these sessions, the community is invited to learn about the project, give feedback on the design concepts. All the events do take place at the DDA's office in Carytown. We are on the second floor above Found. If you haven't been to our office, it can be a little bit challenging on your first trip. So on the DDA's website, a2dda.org, at the top under Who We Are, there is a drop-down for location, and you can get some detailed directions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now come to public comment reserve time. Public comment reserve time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment reserve time, one needs to have signed up in advance by contacting our city clerk. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk, or the time clock, will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first speaker today is Adam Grant.
That's right, I'm early. Thank you, council members. I want to especially thank council members Harrison, Watson, Ghazi, Edwin, Cornell, and Iyer for bringing the amendment that they have for Rising Hope for Housing. I'm here today to make sure that we at least maintain the current funding for Rising Hope for Housing. I understand the city is facing real constraints. Times are tough for residents and they're tough for city government. I don't envy the decisions you have to make. But I want to be clear about what is at stake with Rising Hope. This funding supports eviction, diversion, and trauma-informed navigation for people who are formerly incarcerated and justice impacted. That focus is not a side issue. It's the direct response to one of the most consistent drivers of instability in our community. People returning home from incarceration are among the most vulnerable residents when it comes to housing access, employment barriers, and basic safety. In fact, formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to experience homelessness than the general public. And even when someone is doing everything right, they can still be screened out. Some of the very mutual aid and support systems designed to address inequities still have policies and practices that exclude, or disqualify the people we work with every day. Rising Hope helps fill the gap with practical support and trauma-informed problem solving before a housing crisis becomes homelessness. There's also a deeper point about the funding source. The marijuana excise revenue that funds Rising Hope is in a real way a form of repair for communities that were disproportionately harmed by laws that criminalize behavior that is now legal and taxed. Using those dollars to keep people housed, prevent eviction, and stabilize families is exactly the kind of community reinvestment that makes sense. Finally, this is not money that disappears into an outside contract. These dollars are spent right here in Ann Arbor. They keep Ann Arbor residents housed, they support local providers, and they reduce downstream costs that show up in emergency responses, shelters, and the courts. I'm asking you to protect Rising Hope for housing at this current at least at its current funding level, because it is targeted, it is practical, and it reflects the values of Ann Arbor, says that it stands for. Thank you for your time, and I think that's the first time I ever didn't use the whole 3 minutes.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Sam Homan.
Hello, thank you, members of council. I'll be brief. I'm here today to speak out against the proposed EV rebates. This proposal, which is described as helping abate rising fuel costs, is little more than a wealth transfer from all taxpayers to the most affluent taxpayers in the city. Put simply, people buying new cars, and especially EVs, are the ones best able to absorb the increase in gas price, and I can see no justification for this policy. If the city wants to help people impacted by the rise in energy costs, then I would suggest targeting neighborhoods with older housing stock and providing free or low-cost attic insulation. $500,000 will buy a lot of attic insulation. Building turnouts for better bus shelters where there is excess right-of-way, like on Stone Civil Road. Or alternatively, if the city is unable to think of a good use for $500,000 for in the climate action millage, then I would suggest the millage is simply raising too much revenue and should be reduced from 1 mil to 0.5 mils.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Laquan Hill.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First off, I want to say thank you to the councilwomen and men who helped shape this new funding for Rising Hope, but I want to give a special thank you to the lady who was championing this since the inception of Rising Hope, Miss Cynthia Harrison. My COO said it clearly. He actually took the show, so I'm going to just speak from the heart. I had something prepared, but he already said it. I represent just a small portion of the collaboration of Rising Hope. This was created deliberately, conscious, and intentional to address the issues that our communities worldwide suffer from. Homelessness. I want to share a story. They asked me not to actually say their name, so out of respect for them, I won't. But I had the luxury of helping an individual who had a job, had a decent car. The car broke down. They were still living check to check. They were about to lose their home, that they finally got on the Section 8 waiting list and finally got a home, a family of 5. They lost their car. They couldn't get back and forth to work. They couldn't get here where the good jobs were at. So what happened? They lost their job. So now they was in turmoil of losing their house, panic-stricken. What do you think that they're going to do? I'm so glad that Rising Hope was there, and we had the funds to actually help them with their rearages. I want you to know that this is not a handout. This is a hand up. And as human beings, I think that's what we are designed to do. To reach a hand down when someone is down. When society has not given us a real shot at second chances. Rising Hope provides that. And Rising Hope can also curve what we all know. Homelessness is going crazy. And it's going to get worse. So why not fund Rising Hope? As my CEO said, yeah, as it currently, where the budget is at for it, allocated for it, we need more. So I'm going to be here next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, because y'all need to see the benefit of it. So I got 20 seconds left. All that I'm saying is, this is an investment, not a handout. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jeremy Haley.
Good evening, everyone. Jeremy Haley, Ypsi Township. Imagine this, Ann Arbor, home of the largest university in America. With that agreement on that property, that's what U of M could be. They built the biggest stadium. You know, they always want the biggest of things. Why not be the biggest and largest of universities? They may not be the best at all things, but why not be the largest? Or that's enough property to put the hypercomputing center in Los Alamos on that's same amount of property in Ypsi Township. So I would advise, I don't know if you guys got a moratorium or anything on data centers. They may have agreement on the land until a plan comes forth. You guys need to put at least a temporary moratorium on any data or hypercomputing centers in place if you haven't already, because that may come because they may not like Ypsi Township. On to the Arbor South. That is a TIF for transformational brownfield. And Mayor, you said no new taxes are going to be dwelled on the taxpayer. That is true. What you're not saying is the taxes that are gained on development are going to be diverted to the developer. So, and that diversion won't go back to the taxpayer for 30 years. And going back to the Concordia proper, Councilman Malik, I heard you say you'd like to see that property go on the public tax fund, which I find odd, and for all of you too. You probably say you would like to see that too, but it's kind of ironic because you guys voted for the Arbor South project to take that development money that would have come from that development money, from that development to the developer. To hear you say you want this property now to be on the tax books and that money come back to the city, how can you guarantee that you guys wouldn't vote for another transformational brownfield on that development? You know, it has a church on it, has enough property. I have something about desecrating mosque and churches and leave it and develop. It's not me, it's the U of M's now. I would have took it and turned it into a nice event center right on the banks of the Huron River to bring people in, bring more economic development. That's just me. I don't know what you guys can do now. You guys kind of got hit in the face like Ypsi Township did with the purchase of that property. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Kastner.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is David Kastner, also known as AFSCME Dave. I am the current president of AFSCME Local 369. Ann Arbor prides itself on being a beacon of progress, but what do those values mean if they don't extend to the people keeping this city running? The disparity is staggering. One city administrator makes over 300% more than the median AFSCME employee, and he also received 20% in raises and nearly $20,000 in bonuses in under 2 years. It is a bitter irony that in a city that prides itself on progressive values, the administration seems to have adopted a strategy of trickle-down wage economics. Our frontline workers, the people plowing streets, processing million pages of paperwork, and ensuring our drinking water is safe, are struggling. It's been 29 months since our last raise, and our contract raises haven't even kept up with inflation over the last 25 years. We continually fall behind. When workers ask to close this gap, we're expected to prioritize our financial asks. But the public ledger shows $53 million in enterprise fund growth, the retiree healthcare trust fund funded at over 95%, millions in unspent vacancy savings, and overall an incredibly strong financial standing. Why then do we have to prioritize instead of you? There's talk about the missing middle housing to solve affordability, but building the missing middle means nothing if you continually pull the financial rug out from under the middle class workers. Progressivism isn't just solar panels and bike lanes, it's economic justice. Being called world-class workers rings hollow when the majority of city employees can no longer afford to live here. A dignified wage should not mean also having to donate plasma weekly to survive or delivering food at night instead of seeing your family. If our ideals don't lift up our own workers, then they are little more than a brand, a hollow slogan that looks good on a yard sign but fails the real test of action. We hear a lot from our leaders about moral clarity. Let's apply it here. The administration frames its offers as strict budgetary red lines, but we know they are artificial choices made by the exact same executives who give themselves massive raises. The city is offering what they feel is fiscally right. We're demanding what is morally right. Their financial limits are a choice. Our demands are about the basic dignity we deserve as servants of this great community. We cannot call ourselves a model city if our foundation is built on such stark wage disparity. A city's budget is a moral document. It's time for Ann Arbor's budget to reflect true moral clarity rather than convenient financial excuses. Let's show our workers that they are seen, they are valued, and that they belong in this community, not just working for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Logan Stolley.
Hi, I'm going to piggyback on David, talking from the public works standpoint of the AFSCME union. I'm a certified arborist. I've been with Public Works for nearly 15 years now. I'm in a fortunate position in the forestry department that I can speak with a lot of citizens, and the overwhelming appreciation for our quick response time is always and everywhere present. And as you know, we had a lot of storms over the last years, in particular the tornado last month. Public Works came together as a whole, and we had all the streets cleared in a matter of hours. Hundreds of trees down, and we had to make way for emergency vehicles, for fire, EMS, for the utility line crews to come through, for gas companies to come through, fix the things that got uprooted and destroyed in the tornado. And that was just the beginning, and in the aftermath, the forestry department in particular spent the last couple of weeks pulling dozens of trees out of driveways, off of houses, off of cars. These things are oftentimes very dangerous and specialized work that kind of get overlooked kind of in the aftermath of some of these storms. Over the last few years, we've had a lot of turnover in forestry. We've been unable to replace a lot of the positions. We've had to bring people in that have little to no experience. We haven't hired an actual arborist in over 6 years. We're a small department to start out with. There's only 8 of us that do work on a day-to-day basis, and we service 55,000 trees, not including the 100,000 trees that are in parks and other right-of-ways. The arborists that we do have are only 3 and nearing retirement age, so we've got kind of a drought in terms of skilled labor in that department, and it's becoming more and more difficult. We have currently an open position where we had 0 qualified applicants to apply for. So it's becoming more and more difficult because the wage isn't competitive anymore. When I was hired with the city 15 years ago, it was different, and now it's becoming more and more difficult to be competitive at the wage that we're at. That said, I'm grateful for my time at the city. I've been blessed to be, part of the city for as long as I've been. But at the same time, sorry about my phone there. At the same time, you can multiply examples. I'm just speaking from the forestry department. You can multiply examples of this within Public Works, and so the rest of the departments are dealing with the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Timothy Hull.
Mayor, I think he is online. Tim Hall, press *6 to unmute your phone. Go ahead. Tim Hall? Tim Hall, press *6 to unmute your phone. Tim Hall, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Mayor, this caller appears to be unmuted, but we're not hearing anything.
In light of technical difficulty, we'll move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Paul Saferth.
Thanks. Before I get started, I just want to point out that I don't want to be here. I don't think like you want me here. If the city had offered the AFSCME a fair contract or was negotiating in good faith, I would not be here. I didn't want to spend today looking at salaries of people and who's making more than the state average and who's making a lot less than the state average. I understand the next meeting is on June 1st, and I don't want to go to that meeting and discuss all of those things that I have found. If we don't have a decent offer on the table by then I'll be back, and I'll make a real granular comparison between our pay as union workers in a city that says it supports unions and the pay of our council and city management. I had a look at the council and managers, and it doesn't look great in this comparison. I'll be back for whatever meetings offer public commentary, and I'll be making these comparisons over and over until we have a fair contract. The city has asked our union in the past to accept contracts with insultingly low cost of living increases due to emergency circumstances. And in the past, we've gone along. But it doesn't seem like everyone in the city is being asked to make sacrifices. And I can show this fairly easily. The average rent in Ann Arbor is $2,200 a month. I can't afford it. Most of my coworkers can't afford it. I came here about 30 years ago, and I was able to live in the city on like a grocery store wage. Like, I can't do that now. And I have what back then would have been a good job. So this is the result of the decisions that are being made here in the council and the decisions that are being made at the contract bargaining table. I urge you to reconsider how much you want to lean on the union and think about what kind of city you want to be.
Thank you. Next speaker is Blaine Coleman.
The voice you're going to hear is my wife, Dr. Mojgan Savabi Esfahani, in Tehran.
This is Dr. Mojgan Savabi Esfahani in Tehran, Iran. The state of Israel is a genocidal, rapist, racist, expansionist, disgusting entity. The world hates Israel. We ask you for the millionth time to say something to stop military aid to Israel. Your silence
Okay. That was Dr. Savabi Esfahani. You know, years of genocide by Israel, and this city council still won't even allow a vote on the resolution against military aid to Israel? You're still on board with Trump's and Israel's genocide? What are you good for exactly if you can't even say no to a genocide, which you're paying for? You can't even allow your own union workers a fair contract. You can't even give people affordable housing, which you are constantly talking about and never delivering. You give a pat on the head to Black Ann Arbor, but you're never, ever going to give real reparations to black people in Ann Arbor. Never. I know that. You're going to have to be voted out. You are good for one thing, however, with absolute consistency. You are good at killing Palestinians. You're good at killing Lebanese and Iranian people. You don't even complain about picking up the check for that. You have no upper limit on how many you kill. You've been stonewalling this resolution. We are against military aid to Israel. You've been stonewalling this resolution for years and years. You can't even allow a vote on it. What kind of city council is that in the middle of a genocide? Even last week's New York Times tells you that Israel is raping its prisoners, its Palestinian prisoners.
Given that there was a technical error on our side preventing Mr. Hull from speaking, with council's acquiescence, we'll cycle on back and let the gentleman provide his comment. Our next speaker is Timothy Hull. Thank you for bearing with us.
Mr. Hall, go ahead and unmute. Mr. Hall? Mr. Hall? Mayor, I think the issue is on the caller side. IT has tried to support him.
In light of the fact that we're not able to hear the speaker, with regret, we'll move forward. Are there communications today from council? Councilman Ryer.
Okay. Thank you. First, I want to talk directly to the AFSCME members who are here today. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate you showing up and voicing your concerns directly to us as a body, and I think that's very important to see you and to hear from you. I want you to know that I personally have been consistently communicating with your leadership about my support of you and of making sure that what we arrive at is a fair contract. I support our city employees. I respect the work you do. Members of the Budget and Labor Committee have also, as a group, met with your leadership and communicated the same. So I want you to know that, if you don't. I think it's also important to understand some context around raises. The members here probably already know this, but the public may not. That during COVID, every city union, along with non-union and salaried employees, agreed to a no raise year because of the financial uncertainty surrounding the city during the time of COVID. AFSCME negotiated that no raise year at the end of its contract, so that's why there was no raise last year. Again, you members, I'm sure know that, but the public probably doesn't. I know folks are frustrated. This process has been going on for some time. I know at least my understanding is there have been scheduling issues that have come into play with that as well. But I want you to know I appreciate the work that you do every single day. And again, I am committed to a fair contract for you. My hope is that as we go forward, we can continue communicating together on a constructive level with your leadership and the Budget and Labor Committee, so that we can continue to be aware of what's going on, and so that we can, again, do our part to make sure that a fair contract is reached. So thank you.
Further communication from council. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to basically announce that tomorrow on May 19th at 6:00 p.m. we will have our second annual Social Justice Symposium, and hosted by the Ann Arbor Independent Community Police Oversight Commission. So we invite you to come to that, and it will feature our guest speaker, City of Ann Arbor Police Chief Andre Anderson. Chief Anderson will be presenting on his experience following the Ferguson, Missouri protests in 2014 and 2015 after the death of Michael Brown, and their influence on modern policing and community relations. The symposium will examine the history of protest as it has an impact here on the Ann Arbor community. You can RSVP, or you can just show up. And that's tomorrow at 6:00 at the New Hope Baptist Church, which is located on 218 Chapin Street in Ann Arbor. So hope that you can make it. Thank you.
Councilmember Adina.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, and I'll just echo the remarks of my colleague, Councilmember Iyer. Really just grateful to AFSCME for showing up and for providing the voice that you did here at the council table. As somebody who's also on budget and labor and who's been part of these conversations, getting updates on this contract in particular, I know it's a priority for all of us to make sure that we get this across the finish line and make sure that we have a contract in place that supports the workers who make our city function each and every day. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your continued service to our community. I also just wanted to highlight, I know that the mayor was there as well today, but I was privileged to visit the site of our first 2 solar installations as part of our new sustainable energy utility today. And really exciting to see solar going on rooftops in the Bryant neighborhood, as we have our SEU going from an idea to actual solar panels on roofs, batteries on houses, power being generated. And so really excited about that. And if others are interested in participating in that and signing up, you can go to a2seu.com.
Councilmember Briggs.
Thanks. I also just wanted to speak to the AFSCME members that are here tonight. Thank you for coming. It's really powerful to hear your voices and hear your stories, and also to hear just a little bit more about what you're seeing within the departments that you work in, and what our current pay rates, what they mean in terms of recruiting new personnel. And so thank you for being here. I, too, am committed to seeing a fair contract. And a fair contract to me means that we have living wages, and wages where our city employees can survive and thrive in our city as well. So, I look at the budget that is in front of us tonight, and the administrator has proposed increasing our employees from 863 to 893 in the next fiscal year, and that's good in terms of the additional support and capacity we'll have in the city. But I vote on this with the understanding that we're going to have the ability to also adopt contracts that are good for our existing employees as well.
Councilmember Cornell.
I am excited to remind the public that May 31st through June 6th is our A20 week, and this is our 6th annual. And most of these events, all of these events are free and open to the public. Some require an RSVP, but there is a guided tree walk. There's a climate board game night. I'm excited to see what that's about. Bikeway tours, a sustainable food tour, and relevant to our mine and Councilmember Briggs' constituents in Ward 5 on June 4th between 1 and 2 p.m. We are having a climate and coffee or tea or decaf beverage if you happen to be me. Time to chat about our city's A20 goals and what we can do to advance those and all that's going on in the city to advance those. So I encourage everyone to check that out. If you go to a2gov.org, click on the Sustainability Innovations Home link, and you will find all of the details about the events that are going on for that entire week-long celebration of our A20 efforts.
Further communication from council members. For my part, as a member of the Budget Labor Committee, and certainly in my role, I'm grateful too for folks coming out today to talk with us about the union's view as to working conditions here in the city. We all know here at the table, and we talk a lot about the work that we do, and the work that we do is, as we describe it, it is stolen valor. It is work that is accomplished by staff members up and down the line, and members of AFSCME who've come to speak to us today, doing all the core work that folks rely upon absolutely every day. It's important to me. It's important to us. It's important to everyone here, that the work that you do is valued in word and crucially in deed, that you feel that it's valued as much as we do value it. And so I'm grateful for your report back to us, both here at the table and in smaller sessions. And we'll certainly that will be part of my thinking going forward, part of my discussions going forward, because it's crucial. So I just want to say thanks. I would also like to request confirmation of the following reappointments that were presented to City Council on May 4, 2026. To the Airport Advisory Committee, Greg Ferris. To the Ann Arbor Public Art Commission, Allison Neal. To the Building Board of Appeals, Kevin Cox. To the City Planning Commission, Danelle Weich, Julie Weatherby, Richard Norton. To the Commission on Disability Issues, Robert Packard, Matthew Solomon. To the Downtown Development Authority, Mike Michelin, Tyler Kinley. To the Elizabeth Dean Fund Committee, Richard Wieland, Kimberly Sunday, and Robertson Davenport. To the Historic District Commission, Chip Smith, Stephen Kaplan. To the Housing Board of Appeals, Todd Selinsky. To the Housing Commission, Lee Meadows. To the Human Rights Commission, Judah Garber, Vanessa Hernandez-Jackson. To the Huron River Watershed Council, Janice Bobrin. Parks Advisory Commission, Therese Perlowski and Alexa Bush. To the Public Market Advisory Commission, Emma Hardy. To the Recreation Advisory Commission, Chiara Witt. To the Renters Commission, Talia Pace, Michelle Liao, Hannah Lacriense, and Jordan Else. To the Transportation Commission, Rachel Jacobson and Kate Fellowing. May I have a motion, please, to approve these appointments? Moved by Councilmember Adina, second by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? They are approved. I'd also like to request confirmation of the following appointment that was presented to City Council on May 4, 2026. To the Human Rights Commission, William Bryan. May I have a motion, please? Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. We now have before us the consent agenda. May I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Malik. Discussion, please, of the consent agenda. Councilmember Briggs.
I just wanted to call attention to CA12, which is we're approving a grant agreement with Michigan Economic Development Corporation in the amount of $4.3 million, and the Ann Arbor Housing Commission, or Housing Development Corporation, AATA, our sub-grantees, but this is an exciting grant that we've received where we're going to be seeing streetscape improvements around our new affordable housing across from the library and transit improvements as well. So just grateful for that grant going in and for the support from MEDC.
Further discussion of the consent agenda? All in favor? All opposed? The consent agenda is approved with 11 council members present, all voting the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement with respect to CA 10, CA 11, and CA 12. We now come to a public hearing. Public hearings are opportunities for members of the public to speak to council and the community about the specific subject matter of the public hearing. To speak at a public hearing, you need not have signed up in advance, but your speech must relate to the specific subject matter of the public hearing. That is to say, the specific item on the agenda to which the public hearing relates. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Public hearing number 1, an ordinance to amend section 2402, 2408, and 2410, and to add sections 2413 rate schedules to Chapter 35 Sustainable Energy Utility at Title II Utilities and Services of the Code of the City of Ann Arbor. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Greetings. Luis Vasquez, 909 Barton Drive in Upper Lower Town, part of the First Ward. I'm okay with these scheduling these rates for the SCU, and just like to echo Travis when he says, this is a great thing for Ann Arbor to finally be putting the rubber to the road, as it were, with solar panels generating electricity on municipal buildings and in the Bryant neighborhood. I hope it expands over the coming years. But I just wanted to point out one thing that I saw on the Ann Arbor for Public Power website. They say that according to the first feasibility study commissioned by the city, rooftop and other solar from the SCU could account for 15% of the energy needs of the city by 2030. If ultimately achieved, that would be an excellent start, but 15% is not enough. In one way, I agree with them that it's a great start. It's an excellent start. I voted for this measure to come about. I think it's a great thing. But what I would encourage the Ann Arbor for Public Power folks is to get behind the SEU. Please, put your effort, put your energy,
Sir.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Great schedule.
So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in-house who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mr. Hall, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was going to speak on what I originally was going to speak on. I don't know if you can get me in somewhere, but I discovered my computer mic is just not working at all, despite even when it's unmuted. I've got my phone mic set up now.
Sir, I'm afraid we're in, the council rules provide that if folks are not available during the time that they're called for public comment, that their turn is, washes away. Appreciating that sometimes we exert some flexibility for particular technical errors, the juggling into a public hearing is, I'm afraid, an accommodation too far in this context. So my apologies to you.
Mayor, I don't see any other callers with their hands up.
Seeing no one further, this public hearing is closed. A1, we have before us the minutes of the work session of April 27 and the regular meeting minutes of May 4, 2026. May I have a motion, please, to approve these minutes? Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion of the minutes. All in favor? All opposed? The minutes are approved. B1, an ordinance to amend Section 2402, 2408, and 2410, and to add Sections 2413 rate schedules to Chapter 35, Sustainable Energy Utility of Title II, Utilities and Services of the Code of the City of Ann Arbor. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Iyer. Discussion, please, of B1. I'd just like to take this very brief opportunity to sort of echo what was mentioned in in council communications, in this case in the context of the rate schedules. We have today installed the first hardware for the sustainable energy utility. The first homes in the Bryant area have received solar panels and batteries owned by the sustainable energy utility, which will be charged, the electricity with respect to which will be charged to the residents in the fee schedules here. This is an incredible step forward with respect to the provision of 100% renewable, reliable, affordable energy to Ann Arbor residents. There will be, we're looking to put solar panels and batteries on 100 homes through the SCU this year in our Bryant area. Next year, we're looking to put them on 1,000 homes throughout the rest of the city, and that is just the beginning. This is an opportunity for a transformational program by the city, a transformational institution, and I'm just so pleased and proud that that our folks are making it happen. And this rate schedule, I think, presents fair rates, lower rates to residents who sign up, and I would encourage everyone to reflect upon whether they're able to do so. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. C1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, zoning, rezoning of 1.98 acres from PUD planned unit development to PUD planned unit development. The Ashley Muse Development PUD zoning and supplemental regulations 414 South Main Street. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion, please, of C1. Councilmember Dish.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the first reading of an ordinance that proposes to allow on floors 2 through 7 of the high-rise building of Ashley Muse, all permitted uses in the downtown core district, D1. I want to clarify that this ordinance is not moving from no short-term rentals in Ashley Muse, but rather moving from opening up to allow non-owner occupied short-term rentals in the Ashley Muse. So you can currently, if you are a renter or owner of a unit in the, well, you would probably, renter or owner, that's true. You can rent your unit as an STR provided it is your principal resident. And we allow renters to do this in the city of Ann Arbor, which is great, as well as people who own their units. The change to all permitted units, to allowing all permitted units in D1 would allow, as I said, non-owner occupied STR rentals. The terms of the original PUD from 1999 provided that floors 2 through 9 of the building would comprise 65% office use and no less than 10% apartment dwelling, including condos. The units under discussion tonight on floors 2 through 7 have only recently been converted to long-term residential use as apartments, and they were converted from office use. Those floors used to be occupied by DTE. So compared to the terms of the original PUD, we now have 100% residential on floors 2 through 9. I don't know, I'm sort of like in some sort of word version mental state and originally just 10% was required. So we've moved from 10 to 100% of those floors 2 through 9 in Ashley Muse being residential. When Planning Commission approved this, it asked the petitioner repeatedly whether it was their intent to use any of the units newly converted to rental for non-owner occupied STR, and they repeatedly said that they did not, but they wanted the flexibility to do so. I think if we grant them the flexibility, we can figure that they might use it. But nonetheless, they are saying that at the moment they have no plans to do so. The Planning Commission considered this to be a reasonable request because Ashley Muse is located adjacent to D1 properties in an area that the future land use plan designates as hub. The Planning Commission has heard residents' concerns about the need to create new housing opportunity for long-term residents, both renters and owners, and we take those concerns seriously. The Planning Commission has centered those concerns in discussions of the transition category, and it has assigned itself to investigate establishing limits on known non-owner occupied STRs in transition. Hub, however, which like D1 is envisioned as a mixed-use district that allows a range of commercial uses, including hotels, CPC has not viewed non-owner occupied STRs as a concern in that category. All that is to say that this project taps broader questions of policy that are currently live and in debate as part of the CLUP implementation process. I am not sure, or actually I do not think, that we should try to settle those questions at this table in reference to this one project. But I understand that these questions are appropriate to raise and discuss between now and second reading if we get past first reading. Thank you so much.
Further discussion? Councilmember Adina.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I'm going to oppose this tonight at first reading. Well, I appreciate kind of the request of the property owner that this would not, in their view, be something that they would want to be non-owner occupied short-term rentals. My understanding please correct me if I'm wrong, all uses permitted in D1 zoning would be authorized, which I believe would authorize non-owner occupied short-term, it would authorize non-owner occupied short-term rentals. So regardless of whether or not the property owner currently has plans to do that, it would permit it, and that's a concern for me, particularly on multiple floors in our downtown. What you're talking about is essentially a less regulated hotel in our downtown. I also have concerns about transitioning properties that are, or parcels that are currently being used for long-term multifamily housing, for short-term rental use. I know that we have, in some limited cases in the past, entertained the idea of short-term rentals, particularly in those cases where we would ultimately net significantly more long-term housing, particularly in legal cases when we needed to permit ongoing use because of past practice. But this is not something that I'm particularly interested in seeing continue to expand throughout the city. I would actually say that, I would support Planning Commission in evaluating further ways to limit this in both transition and hub moving forward. I think if there is a need for hotel space downtown, I think that is the way that we should approach this, and I don't support additional use of non-owner occupied STRs. So I will be voting no.
Further discussion? Councilmember Heckman.
Thank you. I agree with Councilmember Adina. I'm not interested in supporting an expansion of non-owner occupied short-term rentals. I think if you're living in a space like this, you think that you're moving into, a neighborhood among people that are living around you, and then lo and behold, it's a hotel. And so, I think we need more regulation, not less. And I appreciate what Councilmember Dish said about the questions not being settled. But to me, I think it argues the opposite. Why would we support this now when that's not settled? So I will be voting against it.
Councilmember Cornell.
Thank you to my colleagues who spoke before me, especially Councilmember Adina. I think one of the things that concerns me about this is that there is a lot of data that suggests that the more SDRs that we have in a community, the higher it puts a lot of pressure on home prices, obviously, we talk a lot here about our housing crisis and how that impacts affordability, and I don't know how we could sit around this table and talk about that as something that we care about and yet decide that this is a good move forward for our community. I agree that this should go back for further consideration, especially analysis of how it might impact house prices and our monthly rents in Ann Arbor.
Further discussion? Councilmember Dish.
Thank you. I would like to ask 2 questions of staff, if Mr. Leonard is available.
Mr. Leonard can join us on Zoom.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Leonard. Oh, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yes, we can.
Much better. Just in case I got anything too garbled, I wanted to ask you if in the downtown core currently, non-owner STRs the numbers of them can expand.
They can. When the city established its short-term rental framework, the framework was really referential towards similar use patterns. That's why primary resident short-term rentals is only an option in those properties that are zoned or restricted to residential uses. And then we've granted the city's regulations provided more flexibility in places that provided a wide variety of mixed uses, such as our D1 commercial districts, where short-term non-owner occupied short-term rentals and hotels and a variety of other uses are permissible.
Okay, so that's what our ordinance already states. So if we are making this decision on the grounds that we don't support further expansion of non-owner occupied STRs, that would be holding this one project to a different standard than apply to other other parcels or developments in D1. Okay, I mean, we can do that, but.
Yeah, it would be maintaining a more restrictive land use policy in this than other properties in the, as you noted, in the hub land use category.
And downtown and D1. And then I just wanted to ask you what will happen if the council votes no on first reading? Does this go back for consideration to the Planning Commission?
My understanding is that if this is rejected on first reading, the ordinance would end. They would not be further considered. That first ordinance reading is required to advance consideration, but I would suggest you consult your brilliant city attorney sitting there at the table.
Okay. I'm sure I've run out of time, but Mr. Leonard appears to want to call.
Thank you, Brad. No, I think Brad is right, that it just kind of kills the ordinance.
I've got Councilmember Iyer, then Radina.
Yeah, I too am going to vote no on this. I think, we've just passed a land use plan. We're embarking on the work of looking at what the rules should be going forward in hub, in transition, in low-rise residential. And there is definitely a concern about expansion of STRs in our community. And these, as was mentioned, these were just converted into housing. I would really hate to see them now be converted into short-term rentals that are only occupied 8 to 10 weekends a year. Our downtown needs residents. Our downtown businesses have been suffering. And it seems that they're being rented out as long-term rentals, okay. And so, we've got a housing shortage. I don't know that we have I think it would be better to just turn this down, not, do this sort of on the fly, ad hoc, and really look at how we want to approach short-term rentals holistically as we get to the zoning and implementation phase of our land use plan. But this doesn't seem to pass the gut check for me tonight.
Councilmember Watson.
I have a question with for Mr. Leonard. With the hub category still in discussion and still to be, defined by the Planning Commission, if we change the supplemental regs now to say that it fits with D1 uses, is it perhaps advantageous to wait until we have a hub category, and because the D1 has a sunset to it in a certain way? So just want to ask about the difference with the impending change, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. So this is why occasionally you see amendments to PUDs, right? Because when they're drafted in such a way that they are a sort of a hyper-fixated snapshot in time, they rely on what is happening at that time. So in the case of this, for example, to your question, if this ordinance was passed and the D1 regulations were to be modified to somehow to persist and in their current or a different form, however they change would evolve with this PUD. If the D1 regulations were no longer in place, then it would cause the question about how we would interpret this in the future. We would probably, in that case, look to what the sort of use framework was at the time it was established. So your question's a good one, and it's hard to predict all the outcomes. That's one of the challenges of planned unit developments when they're designed in such a way that they are very specific to one particular development framework. It doesn't provide a lot of adaptability. And in this case, it would provide some adaptability, and again, unless the D1 was modified or replaced in the future.
Thank you.
Councilmember Medina.
Thanks. I think have one final question for Mr. Leonard, and maybe I already know the answer to it, but there was some reference to this being kind of setting a different standard than the rest of D1, but this is currently a PUD and it would be rezoned to a PUD, and so that in itself makes this parcel unique from the rest of the properties around it, correct?
Yeah, for sure. This is not zone D1. There are surrounding D1 properties, and I would have to check the history. I think this PUD was actually put in place before the D1 zone was established.
Thank you.
I think that's true. Councilmember Cornell.
You're still in the hot seat, Mr. Leonard.
Happy to be here.
Can you please clarify, just for basic understanding, what you're saying is that if we choose to, or if our future zoning changes the zoning for this particular property and others, then we are not bound by the original zoning, which allowed for short-term rentals, and that could be back up for consideration as part of any future rezoning. Is that correct? We're not bound by, you mentioned precedent, and I want to make sure I understand what that means.
Yeah. I just want to be clear, it's hard for me to summarize every potential scenario, but let me give you a couple of examples. If this planned unit development was modified to say whatever the D1 zoning uses are permissible, that is going to apply to this zone. In that circumstance, we are going to take the D1 and apply it when we get any sort of applications for uses there. If we modify the D1 in the future to say we're no longer going to allow restaurants, we're no longer going to allow short-term rentals, as that D1 would modify, those changing and restrictions would change because they are no longer permitted uses in the D1. We've sort of linked those together. The caveat I would put with that is if this PUD was modified and you said, we're going to permit all the uses in the D1, and then the city chooses to eliminate the D1, I don't sit here and suggest to you that we would then say, oh, there are no permitted uses for this building. I think what we'd want to do then is find what is the appropriate interpretation in that circumstance. And I said, just off the cuff, one way that I would start with that interpretation would be, what was the D1 district at the time it was adopted? If we are, sometimes this happens, I don't know, for council members may or may not recall, this example came up when we were looking at establishment and rezoning to our TC1 district. We actually rezoned a lot of PUDs in these areas from plan unit development to TC1. So that's another scenario that could happen in the future based on whatever action is taken this evening or not. Does that help at all?
Thank you, yeah.
Councilmember Briggs.
It may have helped her, but I am now a little bit more confused. So just a follow-up question. I had thought that I understood that once use was permitted, that it was challenging to take away that use. So in the case of, non-owner occupied short-term rentals, once that had been, allowed, that would be, that would not be a use we could restrict in the future if that was provided within the zoning. So for example, in this case, or if we expanded D1 to other neighborhoods, and that was still in place, then that would be a use that had been authorized. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, I think you're 100% right, but there's a little bit different framing to it. So I think what you're talking about is zoning is perspective. And so when we permit a use and that use is realized, there is an expectation that you can continue that use. For example, if we have a zoning district that says you can put a bank here and we permit you to build your bank and we give you a certificate of occupancy, and in the future we change that zoning district to say, you know what, we don't want banks. And so if we do that, that bank can continue as a non-conforming use. Because that zoning change is prescriptive, it doesn't automatically mandate that the time that the council approves that change to prohibit banks in that zone, that bank has to close. So you are 100% correct in that assessment. However, the same does not hold to the possibilities of use. If you own a property and it can be used for a bank or a restaurant or a short-term rental, and you don't realize any of those uses, you keep it vacant, and then the city goes and changes that zoning so banks are no longer allowed, that you can no longer put a bank there. So you're correct, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different importance that the use has been realized in the property to give it any sort of ongoing status versus just the possibility of that use.
Okay, thank you. Now I understand what you were explaining earlier. Thanks.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, please, starting with Councilmember Cornell.
Councilmember Cornell?
No.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
No.
Councilmember Watson?
No.
Councilmember Malik?
No.
Councilmember Medina?
No.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
No.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
Councilmember Iyer?
No.
Councilmember Ackman?
No.
Councilmember Briggs?
No.
Motion fails.
DC 1, resolution to reappoint Elizabeth Riggs, Julius Buzzard, Jason Boggs to the Greenbelt Advisory Commission. Moved by Councilmember Malik, second by Councilmember Medina. Discussion, please, of DC 1. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DC 2 resolution, with 11 council members present, all voting the affirmative, thus satisfying the 7-vote requirement. DC 2 resolution to reappoint Jonathan Overpeck, Sarah Nadrich, Brooks Curtis, Moban Mazulian, Malika Kawathi, and to appoint Jillian Miller and Arjuna Rahendra to the Sustainability Commission. Moved by Councilmember Cornell, second by Councilmember Malik. Discussion, please, of DC 2. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved with 11 council members present, all voting the affirmative, thus satisfying the 7-vote requirement. Resolution to reappoint Patricia Manley and Erica Liu to the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission. Moved by Councilmember Harrison, second by Councilmember Watson. Discussion, please, of DC 3. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DC4, resolution to reappoint non-registered electors to Ann Arbor boards and commissions. Moved by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin, seconded by Councilmember Adina. Discussion, please, of DC4. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved with 11 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 7-vote requirement. DC5, resolution to confirm support of the city's ongoing interventions in DTE electric and DTE gas rate cases and other key cases before the MPSC impacting Ann Arbor residents. Moved by Councilmember Malik, seconded by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion, please, of DC5. Councilmember Malik.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to underscore the importance of our city's involvement in these proceedings between utilities and their state regulators. Typically, entities intervening in these cases are corporations, trade groups, interest groups with some sort of advocating for their own interests, or other parts of state government, such as the Attorney General's office. There are virtually never individuals advocating on behalf of themselves, and rarely, if ever, are there municipalities standing up for their own citizens' interests in these cases. However, that is what our city attorney's office has done repeatedly and with great success. To date, the city has taken part in 11 different MPSC proceedings to not only challenge steep rate increases, but also improve the comprehensive experience of DTE customers, while simultaneously advancing actions that meaningfully contribute to the city's A20 goals. With the direction of City Council, our attorneys are literally standing up to big corporations and winning. I'm super excited to co-sponsor this tonight, and I look forward to even more success and bigger wins on behalf of Ann Arbor residents. Thank you.
Councilmember Adina.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I, too, am proud to support this resolution and the city's continued intervention before the Michigan Public Service Commission. At a time when residents are facing rising house costs, rising insurance costs, rising everyday expenses, another DTE rate hike requested just 2 months after their last increase was approved is both difficult to understand and an affront to the people we represent. For nearly 5 years, the city of Ann Arbor has consistently intervened in cases before the Michigan Public Service Commission to challenge DTE's rate increases and advocate for lower costs and improved reliability for our residents. According to city staff, these interventions have helped save DTE ratepayers more than $1 billion in electric and gas costs since 2022, while also helping to limit proposed residential rate increases. Over that same period, DTE has still consistently reported net annual profits of more than $1 billion. Ann Arbor has often been one of the only municipal voices willing to independently step forward in these proceedings. That leadership matters. These cases are highly technical, but their impacts are deeply personal to our residents. Determining whether families can afford to keep the lights on, whether businesses can manage rising operating costs, and whether residents can trust the reliability of the grid that they are paying for. I want to thank the staff the staff in the Office of Sustainability and Innovations, the City Attorney's Office, and Public Services for the tremendous work they've done on behalf of our community in this respect. And this resolution reaffirms that the City Council values that work, supports continued intervention, and continued opposition to DTE's rate hikes. So thank you to my fellow co-sponsors for their work, and I look forward to supporting this.
Councilmember Cornell.
Councilmember Redina really briefly touched on this, but I'd like to offer gratitude to the City Attorney's Office and the Office of OSI at the city who continue to push forward our vision of a truly carbon neutral city and what that means and all of the little pieces that need to play in order for us to accomplish those goals. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of staff time, and it's a lot of thoughtfulness. And I am incredibly grateful that we have a team who is as smart and talented as the City Attorney's Office, the OSI, and other city staff who continue to not only bring these issues forward and push us forward as a city, but work really hard to realize our values.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin.
Thank you, Mayor. And, I want to thank my colleagues. Similarly, they have echoed many of the comments that I would have shared tonight. One of the things I do want to reiterate is, again, thanks to Dr. Missy Stultz and staff of OSI. When I first joined council, she helped me to write a resolution that was really asking the city to continue its efforts to step in. And I think it's important to note that it was after we'd experienced one of the worst ice storms we ever had, and we had an extended power outage, and there were older adults who had contacted me who were on medical equipment that was failing. It was really deplorable. And some of the things I found out during that resolution was that DTE has some of the longest average outage times in the nation, while we pay some of the highest electricity costs. So this is really important work, and I'm proud that our city is stepping up to a corporation like them. So thank you. And I'd like to be added to the resolution.
Further discussion? For my part, I'm excited and proud about the work that the city does to hold DTE accountable. Working with our colleagues, confronting DTE at the Public Services Commission, we have saved ratepayers over $1 billion. Gas ratepayers over $150 million since 2022. We are in the process, we are limiting what the utility is asking for by 40%, and making a real difference when it comes to providing affordability to folks in desperate need of it. Further, we are in the process through these rate cases of improving DTE service, improving their reliability, forcing them to be accountable to the ratepayers who are creating and generating the profits that they're enjoying. We live in a world in which DTE has a monopoly, a perpetual franchise, and that is the conditions under which we're operating. We do what we can within our legal ability, and we are able to accomplish a great deal. We're able to accomplish a great deal through the diligence and expertise and ferocity of our city attorneys, of our inside and outside counsel, and the expertise of the good people at the Office of Sustainability and Innovation, led, of course, by the indomitable Dr. Stultz. We will continue this work, and I'm looking forward to see further results come out of our objections at the Service Commission. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DC6, resolution to support the launch of a limited electric vehicle rebate initiative to help abate rising fuel costs. Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Radina. Discussion, please, of DC6. Councilmember Cornell.
I think we can all agree that our household costs are going up, including those of us who have gas vehicles, and just the price of fuel lately. I received some questions from constituents that I wanted to address right now. I did receive a question about bike rebates. And I wanted to direct folks to the rebate program that the Office of Sustainability, which is getting a lot of love in the last few minutes. But there's approximately $1.9 million funded by the Community Climate Action Millage that offers rebates on a variety of home energy and electric rebates. And currently the question I received was, why does this not include cargo bikes or e-bikes? There is an entirely separate line item for that, and currently there's about $40,000 remaining in bike rebates, and that will be renewed with the city's fiscal year, which is July 1st. So there is actually money already available to that. So for folks who worried that we might be leaving out bikes and non-car uses out of this, that is not it. It is simply for us to help people who want to transition from gas to electric to make it more affordable. And I would encourage folks to go to the OSI website, a2gov.org, click on Sustainability Innovations Home, and you will find everything from hedge trimmers, leaf blowers, and bikes, and everything in between, where there are financial incentives offered through the Climate Millage to help make that transition from gas to electric.
Further discussion? Councilmember Briggs.
Thanks. I will be supporting this tonight. One additional reason why rebates are useful as we are trying to encourage folks to limit their gas consumption, and with EVs in particular. Last year, the legislature passed a change to electric vehicle fees. Michigan now has the highest registration fees in the nation, which is not, hopefully there's going to be a fix for that somewhat soon. But until then, these rebates here will be helping to not only address, lower the cost of purchasing an electric vehicle, but we'll give folks a little bit extra money in their budget to be able to address some of those too high fees.
Further, Councilmember Gaziano.
Thank you. For my part, I will be supporting this tonight. I recently got an EV, and I love it. But also, I want to address a public commenter from earlier who said that this is an initiative that would put money back in the pockets of those who are the most wealthiest. And I want to clarify that this is eligible for those who are at or below 120% of area median income. It's not for everyone. And also, we have to remember the disproportionate effects of, gas use, climate change, on those who are the most low income and marginalized. So yeah, I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Further discussion? I'm very excited about this proposal. What it does is it will help folks right now who are suffering in our affordability crisis. We all know that gas prices are going up through the roof, and we all know why. We also know that transitions to electric vehicles are good for, they're high service vehicles, they're cheaper to operate, and we also know that they are, occasionally more expensive. You can get a new electric vehicle in the 20s and low 30s, but they also tick up. But the bottom line here is that these rebates will matter for Ann Arborites who are looking to transition to electric. They'll matter for folks who need a new car right now, for folks who need a used car right now. I'm excited about what we're doing to help people to get by in this economy, and this is another example of the city looking out to accomplish multiple goals at once: affordability and climate action. This is an exciting venture. I'm excited and grateful for the work being done by the Office of Sustainability and Innovation, realizing that we had this opportunity, that we had this ability, and suggesting it and bringing it forward, and I'm delighted to be part of it. So thanks, OSI. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved with 11 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement. DC 7, resolution expressing concern to the University of Michigan's potential acquisition of Concordia University property, moved by Councilmember Malik, second by Councilmember Watson. Discussion, please, at DC 7. Councilmember Malik.
Thank you, Mayor. To start off, I sympathize with Concordia students and alumni. Learning that a campus filled with personal memories is closing and will likely be sold is understandably shocking and deeply upsetting. As someone whose own alma mater is also facing financial strain, declining enrollment, and an uncertain future, I recognize how difficult this moment is. But the upcoming status change for the campus also brings a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Ann Arbor and for Ward 2. A 187-acre parcel returning to the tax rolls would provide a significant boost to revenue and thus a boost to many of the efforts our city and our partners are working to enact. Rebuilding our roads, expanding affordable housing, combating climate change, providing a quality education. However, these exciting possibilities are in jeopardy if the university follows through with today's announcement to purchase the Concordia parcel. Such a purchase would keep the property off the tax rolls and leave its redevelopment uncertain for the foreseeable future. The university's campus plan for 2050 does not include plans for purchasing this space, nor does it say anything about increasing the university's footprint by nearly 10% anywhere within city limits, which purchasing the bulk of this 187-acre parcel would do. In my view, the worst-case scenario is the property remaining tax-exempt and unused for years, preventing the community from realizing near-term benefits. The city and university have a long intertwined history, and in recent years, both have made progress towards closer coordination, closer cooperation, and shared priorities. This relationship has often been in balance as the city and university have grown together. However, in my opinion, the university's addition of 10,000 students and 9,000 new employees over just the past 10 years, with no corresponding addition of new housing by the university until this year, means the balance is off, and in fact, probably has been for years. The university has not taken the required steps to accommodate this massive short-term growth, especially in housing, transportation, and infrastructure. That burden has exclusively been placed on the city and our community to manage, often with insufficient tools to do so. The university buying more land denies the community the opportunity yet again to invest in badly needed affordable housing and to further generate tax revenue that could be invested in our schools, parks, roads, and more. The university is well within their constitutional right to buy Concordia and to do with it as they like. But rights come with responsibilities, and I suspect we'd be hard-pressed to find someone here who thinks the university is holding up its end of the bargain lately. In short, the University of Michigan does not do nearly enough to support our community and to manage its own growth. The purchase of this parcel by the university will throw their relationship with the city further off balance for many years to come. Purchasing the campus with no plans for it is actually evidence of a larger plan, which is growth for the sake of growth. But that's not sustainable or acceptable. While I am profoundly disappointed by the university's announcement today of a pending deal, I am not surprised, and I want to highlight the part of the resolution we are voting on tonight that urges the university to consider the exploration of a partnership with the city to meaningfully achieve mutually beneficial goals that address our community's needs. I respectfully and sincerely ask the University Board of Regents to consider this request. Thank you.
Councilmember Watson.
I echo CM Malik's comments, and I too express my disappointment at the news of a potential sale. It's my opinion that the highest and best use for this site is housing. And even if the sale goes through, I hope the university will be willing to discuss housing on the site, whether it is for workers or students. And I would like the university to consider creative partnerships to build that housing, which could add to the tax base. The resolution also mentions community benefit. One potential public benefit on the site could include parks uses. Park acquisition is first vetted by the Land Acquisition Committee of the Parks Advisory Commission, so that's why we don't specify a desire for parks acquisition in the resolution, but it's my personal belief that portions of this property would be very attractive for parks, especially the riverfront portion that could provide a connection point to our liveries upstream. I hope the university will consider community needs, housing, and public spaces when deciding how to proceed with the Concordia property.
Further discussion? Councilmember Briggs.
I'd like to thank the sponsors for bringing this forward and for their eloquent comments on this. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor and just say much more briefly, I think this is a completely irresponsible action by the University of Michigan, and I hope that they work with the city to rectify that.
Further discussion? There's no question, of course, that the University of Michigan and the City of Ann Arbor have supported each other over the centuries. There isn't a mayor, a council, a city government in the world that wouldn't do a great deal in order to have the University of Michigan within their boundaries, to enjoy the benefits of the university, to be enlivened and enriched culturally as a community by the university. It's also true that the University of Michigan's success requires an outstanding city. University of Michigan is not on the coast. University of Michigan is not nestled between mountains in a glorious valley. The University of Michigan is in Michigan, southeast Michigan. It is in a small, welcoming, well-run college town. It needs to attract people from around the world to come to Ann Arbor in order to make the University of Michigan the world-class institution that it is. And in order to accomplish that goal, the city of Ann Arbor needs to be amazing. It needs to be an attractive place for people to come. It needs to be able to do, we need to be able to do our work. And with the prospective purchase of Concordia layered on top of the actual purchase of land over the course of years, with the actual increase in students over the course of recent years, in the absence of housing to accommodate that, the Universities of Michigan's actions render our job much more difficult. And so I'm proud to join this resolution and do ask that the University of Michigan, as it continues to do its work, that they reflect upon what we need. Because what we need, because our needs are important to them. And as they reflect upon what we need, as they continue to reflect upon the contributions they make to to municipal life, the contributions they make to the quiet zone, the contributions they make to us as a municipal organization, for which I'm grateful. That nevertheless they have a structural, strategic role to play in the city, and that they risk the work that we are able to do by actions such as this. This is an opportunity, as Councilmember Briggs has said, to mitigate that potential harm, to enable us to work together on this project, on this land, and to hopefully derive some good, of course, for the university, but also, and crucially, good for the municipal organization and the community that we both share. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DS1, resolution to approve fiscal year 2027 fee adjustments for the Ann Arbor Fire Department. Moved by Councilmember Redina, second by Councilmember Malik. Discussion of DS1. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DS2, resolution to approve fiscal year 2027 fee adjustments for the public services area. Moved by Councilmember Iyer, second by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion of DS2. All in favor? All opposed? It's approved. DS3, resolution to approve fiscal year 2027 fee adjustments for the community services area. Moved by Councilmember Iyer, second by Councilmember Cornell. Discussion of DS3. All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DS4, resolution to approve new fees for Fairview Cemetery. Moved by Councilmember Malik, second by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion, please, of DS4. Councilmember Briggs.
We did receive a comment on this during our last, during the public hearing last time, and I did do a little bit of benchmarking, and it appears that our new fees are, generally speaking, in line with other cemeteries, so I'll be supporting this.
Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. DS5, resolution to adopt Ann Arbor City budget and related property tax millage rates for fiscal year 2027. Moved by Councilmember Medina, second by Councilmember Dish. Discussion, please, of DS5. Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move that we adopt what is listed as amendment number 2 in our packet, an amendment to add 2 FTE firefighter positions to the fire services unit and eliminate 1 FTE vacant human resources manager position, and appropriate $27,546 to the Fire General Fund fiscal year 2027 budget and from the General Fund unobligated fund balance.
Seconded by Councilmember Iyer. Councilmember Burdina, you still have the floor.
Thank you. I'm proud to offer this amendment alongside you, Mayor Taylor, and our fellow co-sponsors because it reflects a very simple principle. When we ask people to continually show up for our community during its most difficult moments, we have a responsibility to show up for them. Our city's firefighters respond to fires, medical emergencies, crashes, hazardous incidents, and moments of profound trauma every single day. They do the work professionally, courageously, and often under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. But we also know that for years now, the department has relied on an unsustainable level of overtime simply to maintain minimum staffing. More than 18,000 overtime hours have already been incurred this fiscal year alone. That is not just a number we need to budget for, but it represents time missed with family, physical exhaustion, emotional strain, disrupted sleep, and the cumulative toll that mandated overtime takes on the people we most entrust with protecting our city. This amendment takes a practical and responsible step toward addressing that challenge and begins right-sizing staffing levels within the Ann Arbor Fire Department. The administrator's proposed budget already recognized this need by including one additional firefighter position. This amendment builds on that proposal by adding 2 more recurring firefighter positions while offsetting much of the cost by deprioritizing a currently vacant HR manager position, but authorizing the administrator to reinstate it as revenue allows. Importantly, this is a strategy to reduce future overtime costs and reduce reliance on year-end fund balance appropriations that we have repeatedly needed to cover overtime overruns. Based on existing estimates, adding 3 firefighter positions could reduce overtime usage by as much as 7,200 hours annually. This is a significant operational improvement and a meaningful investment in our workforce stability. I also want to emphasize that this amendment is about retention and long-term organizational health. Departments across the country are struggling with firefighter recruitment and retention. If we want to remain competitive, if we want firefighters to build careers here in Ann Arbor, and if we want a department that can continue delivering an exceptional service to our residents, then we must take seriously the working conditions that we create. At the end of the day, this amendment says that we recognize the humanity of our first responders. It says that we understand that burnout is real, that safety matters not only for our residents, but also for the people responding to emergencies, and that supporting public safety means supporting the workers who provide it. I appreciate the partnership of my colleagues in supporting this amendment, and I urge its approval. Thank you.
Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you. This seems to be a theme tonight because this firefighter staffing amendment grew out of sit-down meetings that several of us had with union leadership where firefighters spoke candidly about the realities they are facing on the job. More than 18,000 overtime hours already this fiscal year, and the physical, mental, and emotional strain that mandatory overtime in particular places on employees, their families, and our emergency response operations as a whole. What stood out to me most in those conversations was the extraordinary dedication of our firefighters and those who continue showing up for this community every single day, despite those pressures. These are people who walk into emergencies and moments of crisis on behalf of the rest of us while carrying an exhaustive workload themselves. Their professionalism and commitment to public service deserves the utmost respect. So those conversations led to a collaborative effort with city staff to identify a responsible way to fund these additional positions in this year's budget. And I really appreciate the willingness of union leadership, firefighters, our firefighters, our city staff, and of course my council colleagues to work together on this practical solution that directly responds to the concerns raised by the very people doing this critical work every day.
Councilmember Malik.
I think this resolution speaks for itself, and my colleagues have said it best. I would just like to add that, I often talk up here about how I am the proud son of 2 parents who are both elected officials themselves. What I often neglect to say is that both of my parents are also former volunteer firefighters and first responders in my small hometown in Wisconsin. So I'm proud to support and co-sponsor this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Further discussion? I'm pleased and proud that this is coming forward, and I'm eager to anticipate its passage tonight and its implementation in next year's budget. The folks who sign up to be our firefighters are regular people. They're people with faults and families. They're people with vulnerabilities, but they're also people with aspirations and a commitment to serve, and a commitment and a drive to do something extraordinary, and that is to help people in their times of greatest need, and to do so in a context that puts themselves in constant physical risk. This has an impact on themselves, on their psyche, on their bodies, and of course, their family and their relationships. The nature of that work, too, is intense from a scheduling perspective. Folks in the world might not fully understand and appreciate. We have 3 shifts. They are 24 hours. They cycle through, and that's how we do the fire service. That's how it's been done, and that's how we're doing it. With the addition of these 2, now 3 firefighters, we are able to give each of our 3 shifts an additional person to offset obligatory overtime. And when we say obligatory overtime, we're not talking about an extra hour here or an extra hour there. We're talking about people who have put in a 23-hour shift and are told, you're on for another 24. And that's a hard road. They sign up for it. That's the job. They understand it, and they do amazing work when called upon. But it does have a cost. And what we're doing here today is we are providing some additional flexibility so that that cost is spread out, so that that cost is reduced, and we are looking to honor the work that they do for us. And so I'm pleased and proud that we're able to bring this forward. I'm grateful to the administration for providing some paths for us to do this in a way that works for the organization. Grateful for the firefighter leadership who have come to us to talk to us about this challenge. Grateful to Chief Kennedy too for talking to us about what's going on in the department, the difficulties that firefighters do have when called upon to do this service, and finally to council colleagues for making it happen here in our in our role. So I'm pleased and proud and grateful that this is moving forward, and just want to say thank you. Further discussion. All in favor? All opposed? The amendment is approved. Further discussion of the main motion as amended? Councilmember Harrison.
I'd like to move Amendment 1, right? That's the resolution to appropriate $300,000 from the marijuana excise tax rebate and $400,000 from the opioid settlement funds, $700,000 total to the Ann Arbor Housing Development Corporation for the Rising Hope for Housing program and approved uses and strategies of opioid settlement funds.
Seconded by Councilmember Watson. Councilmember Harrison, you still have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. This evening, as well as at our last council meeting, and in many emails many of us received, we heard directly from families Rising Hope for Housing has served. We heard what it meant to them to have staff who understood trauma, who understood what incarceration does to a person and to everyone who loves them. Staff who paid rent, helped with utilities, and kept people housed when the world was ready to let them fall and fail. Rising Hope for Housing is working. And what it's proving is something this city needs to say out loud. Poverty should not be a pipeline back into the criminal legal system. But tonight, I want to name something we haven't fully faced yet. People with criminal legal histories are among the most vulnerable people in our community. Not just because many were targeted by laws that were never enforced neutrally, though that is true and we must own it, but because incarceration doesn't end at the jail door or prison door. It's been a long day. A record follows you, It follows you into every landlord screening, every job application, every attempt to volunteer or access public benefits. It follows you into every room where someone decides whether you're worth the risk. And the stigma attached to that record makes every single ask for help feel like one more thing that can be used against you. Another box, another reason to say no. And the people who love them carry that weight too. Now imagine being in that position with all of that stacked against you and needing to tell someone you have a problem with substances. Many people don't know this, but the majority of incarcerated individuals nationally meet the clinical criteria for a substance use disorder, and the weeks immediately following release are among the most dangerous of that person's entire life. Overdose risk spikes dramatically in that window. Treatment exists that save lives, but they only work if someone is willing to disclose that they need help. That disclosure requires trust, because for this population, asking for help is a genuine risk. It can cost you your housing, your children, your court case. You only tell the truth when you believe the person across the table will still be there for you, for your family while you get the help you need. Rising Help has built that trust, and I want to be clear, that is not a small thing, that is everything. Substance use supports and treatment was always an allowable use under this program. Tonight, we are making it explicit and we are funding it. I am proud that we are adding opioid settlement funds to this investment, that money exists because of an epidemic that tore through this community and that tore apart the lives of people caught in exactly this cycle of incarceration, poverty, and untreated addiction. This population is among those most at risk. We have a legal and a moral obligation to use those funds here. These families have already paid enough. Let's continue funding the program that meets them where they are, builds on the trust that has already been earned, and refuses to ask them to choose between getting help and keeping their families together. This evening, I urge my colleagues to support this budget amendment. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Watson.
The Rising Hope for Housing program has been improving each year as the city has maintained support. I'll read directly from its most recent progress report from July through December 2025. This previous grant period represents the first time the Rising Hope Collaborative has had access to real-time data tracking via a customized database. During the last 6 months of 2025, they enrolled 81 new program participants, and by working with a web designer and data scientist to customize the data tracking platform, the Rising Hope Collaborative was able to intentionally build reporting steps that let caseworkers share what was immediately impacting participants during the program. Here are a couple examples of the situations participants were experiencing at the time of being assisted, as shared by the Rising Hope partners. The participant had to move out of her home after there was a house fire. She had 90 days to find new housing. Rising Hope was able to locate new housing at the same time she was approved for move-in assistance from Hawk. So she moved into her housing in early November, and all of this was coordinated by Rising Hope. And another example, the participant owed a large debt to their landlord. Rising Hope was able to work with the landlord to come up with a payment agreement and work with the agency to reduce the tenant rental portion. The participant has also started working a seasonal job with plans to find part-time employment in the new year. So these are the examples. You heard a commenter say, that this is a hand up, but you see how this is helping people navigate situations that could have led to a permanent setback, whether that's reincarceration, reoffending, but instead this is helping people secure housing, secure employment, and move out of situations that could be devastating. So I'm grateful that the city is continuing to fund this work, and I'm grateful for all of the work Councilmember Harrison did to help get the program running, and to all of the partners, including Washtenaw Housing Alliance and A Brighter Way, and of course our Housing Commission, which administers it from our side.
Further discussion, Councilmember Cornell.
Councilmember Harrison and I spent about 2 hours meeting to discuss this, and I really appreciate your words and tonight at the table. And I just want to reinforce or reiterate some of the points that she made that when we know that housing, and especially supportive housing, is effective, and we heard it tonight from our commenters. We know from the report that Council Member Watson cited in his remarks just now, but 70% of individuals experiencing homelessness struggle with substance use. And we know that when we can tackle substance use, that disorder, that is a huge indicator of success in terms of remaining housed. And that's the point of this funding. That is the point of this funding. And so I'm strongly supportive of it, and I appreciate your leadership on this, Councilmember Harrison, and for all of the co-sponsors on this resolution. Obviously, I am supportive, and I think that this is an important way that we can use this money to make a big difference in our community and ensure that people who need housing and need support are experiencing it on more than one level and in the levels that we know data indicate works.
Further discussion? Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
My apologies.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I also want to join in just kind of the chorus of support for this, and I want to thank Councilmember Harrison. I think that what has just been so exceptional about this program is it truly is grounded in evidence and in research at a time when the federal administration is cutting millions of dollars to communities for something called continuum of care and just, housing approaches in general. Where the cuts are kind of the deepest is they are attacking programs called housing first programs, or programs that show that if you put someone in a home first, they're more likely to get sober. If you give someone a home first, they're more likely to keep their job. And what's happening is they're attacking those programs. And I think why this program is so amazing is it goes back to trying to address that, and it gives people a house first. And also, I think I've said this before, but Washtenaw County has the highest rate of recidivism, or a chance that if someone comes out of jail, they'll go back to jail, of all counties in the state. And one of the biggest reasons people end up going to jail is being homeless, being in poverty, and we have the highest cost of housing in the state. So I think all of that together makes sense why we need a program like this here. And I'm happy to support it again. And thank you for your work.
Further discussion? Piling on, I just want to express gratitude to the folks at Rising Hope for doing amazing work in our community for people who need it. You could be doing anything. This is what you've chosen to do. It's hard work. It's work that is necessary, and it's work that has an impact. I'm grateful to the sponsors of this amendment. I'm great, and colleagues and staff for bringing it forward and for our ability to be a small supportive part of that effort. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? The amendment is approved. Further discussion of the main motion as amended. Councilmember Rodino.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I just want to take a moment to thank all of the city staff who are involved in developing this budget each year. We as a council are incredibly lucky to have leadership throughout the city that puts so much work into this process and into making sure that our city remains fiscally sound. And so I just want to thank all of them who participated in building this budget, in working with us on amendments, answering our questions throughout that process. I also just want to, I think, express something that I view as a positive. We only had a couple of amendments this year to the budget, and I think that's also a testament to a different process that we implemented this year through the Budget and Labor Committee, where we asked and staff worked with us to make sure that council members could submit budget priorities on the front end of this process. And we saw a number of those things worked into the budget. We have additional funding in roads, we have rental ordinance enforcement, we have support for small businesses, and a number of other things that were council priorities that were built right into the budget on the forefront because our administrator and supportive staff continue to work with council to build a budget that reflects the priorities of those of us sitting at this table, so that we don't have to spend hours and hours here amending different pieces of it and cutting things here and cutting things there, because the folks who are doing this work day to day, running our city, have made some of those adjustments for us in the initial budget that was proposed. And so I think we're incredibly lucky for the leadership that we have, the team that works on this, and I just want to express my gratitude to all of them for making this process run so smoothly this year. And I imagine we will continue to talk about ways that we can continue to improve upon it in the years in the future. But thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Briggs.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those sentiments to Administrator Mahoney and the entire finance team. I think that it's clear there's never enough money to be able to do all the things that we want to do, and we all know that we could love to throw additional money at our own priorities and our community's priorities. But I think that this balance does a really good job of trying to advance the work that we're doing, as well as build upon our past successes. So with all gratitude to our staff and Administrator Mahoney for putting this budget in front of us.
Further discussion? Councilmember Malik.
I too would just like to echo everything Councilmembers Radina and Briggs just said. I set aside a lot of the last 4 weeks to really dig into this budget, and I must say I'm a little bummed this year that it was only 400 pages. Previous years it's been in the 500s, so I just want to throw that out there. Some of us don't mind when it's lengthier and full of information. Thank you.
Further discussion? I'd like to hop on the gratitude train as well. Extremely grateful to Mr. Mahoney and the leadership team that he's brought together. We have a budget system, a budget process that works, particularly in finance. We are grateful always for the guidance and the surety with which this document, this vision for the city is brought forward. Folks in Ann Arbor, this budget reflects your values and it honors your tax dollar. As always, this budget is balanced. As always, recurring expenses align with recurring revenue. Our bond rating remains AAA. The budget reflects our commitment to building a community that is safe and sustainable, that's welcoming, and that is prepared for our future. We invest in public safety, in housing, in water, in climate action. We invest in our roads. We invest in solid waste. We invest in elections and inspections. And we invest in planning for the future. And we invest in serving our most vulnerable residents in the here and now. The budget works to align resources and values and priorities that our community has brought forward to us. And we're just delighted and proud of the work that we do as a municipal organization to serve you every day. This budget is the foundation for that work, and I look forward to accomplishing our goals together. Further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? It is approved. Do we have the pleasure of a closed session today? Oh, I'm sorry. Do I need to say?
Communications from the city attorney.
We don't.
All right. Do we have the pleasure of a closed session today?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Alas. We have before us the clerk's report of communications, petitions, and referrals. May I have a motion, please, to approve the clerk's report? Moved by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin, second by Councilmember Watson. Discussion. All in favor? All opposed? The clerk's report is approved. We have the pleasure of communications from our city attorney.
No, Mayor, we do not.
In the absence of...
Back tomorrow.
All right. Abe, with despite able stand-ins. In the absence of public comment overflow, may I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, second by Councilmember Redina. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.